Hello everyone! Welcome to the course Building Angular Applications with NX. From the course, you will learn from scratch how to build and maintain Angular applications using monorepo approach. We will focus on migrating existing codebases to NX monorepos, using pre-configured tools like ESLint, Jest or Cypress, and of course on building new applications using NX monorepos. This course might interest you because, as you probably know, front-end applications become more and more complex every year. We add features, we add new ideas to our applications, and it's a lot of code. NX makes it easier to have that big complex applications. You should know that we are going to use Angular, so some skills are required to get most out of the course. But if you have ever written at least a few small applications in Angular, that's fine, that's enough, you're okay, you can start with NX. I really believe when you learn something new in technology, you have to try it yourself. I will leave you with an idea how to add new features to the apps, and you may treat it as a homework. To complete this course, you will need Angular installed. I'm going to use Angular 16 because it's full of modern features that I like. I will use Yarn and Node.js, and I suggest you using LTS versions, long-term support of Node.js and Yarn if possible. But any version that works with Angular is fine. My name is Kamil and I have been Angular developer for the last few years. I work with it daily, and some time ago I noticed that my knowledge is based mostly on the things that I heard or that I know because I use it. So I decided to relearn Angular from the scratch using Angular source code, and it helped me a lot to understand that framework. I'm working with quite a big Angular application that demands from me a deep knowledge of Angular, and that relearning process was really helpful. I'm the author of mythical-angular.dev. You will find my articles on my blog and on Medium, and if you're interested in using Angular without ng zones or just pushing Angular to its limits, I have few articles that may sound cool for you. Since 2019, I'm a conference speaker. You can find some of my talks on YouTube, and I decided to share my knowledge with developers like you because I think that it's one of the most important soft skills you can have as a developer. Okay, before we try to learn what is NX, I want to go to the past when everything on frontend was a lot simpler. We had simple web pages with a little bit of JavaScript, mostly used to detect which browser user is running, and so on. You probably noticed that complexity is growing, and every year web development allows us to create more complex applications. Our apps evolve, we add new features, and basically we do things that were previously only possible in desktop apps. After a while, we had to create some kind of frameworks to allow us build even more complex applications. So that's why we have Angular, React, Vue, and many others cool frameworks. These frameworks were created by incredibly talented developers. It allows us to build complex applications that are simple from the code side. And guess what? With that cool tools, we can build even more complex applications. So complexity is growing even more, and it's a continuous process. NX is a set of tools that allow you to manage huge code bases in monorepo approach. So you can create, maintain, and build applications using monorepo approach. NX works extremely good with Angular. In fact, it was supported from the very beginning of NX. If you don't know, NX was created by ex-Angular team members. You have to know that right now NX is capable of handling other frameworks as well. Just to let you know what is built in, what you can use, and how awesome it is. I mentioned monorepo approach before. So what is a monorepo? Let's do this with an example. Imagine that you're a CTO of tech company. Your company will, in future, offer 5 applications. There are some common components like buttons or date pickers, or more complex ones like login form. These common components should be the same, so you want to achieve unified look and feel of all 5 applications. What should you do to make it simple? how you should organize your code to make it easy to maintain and at the same time easy to develop. You have two main options. You can keep all applications in separated repositories. You will have 5 repositories for your applications and probably more for that libraries that are going to be used in those 5 applications. And it's a lot of repositories. And when you change one thing in one repository, you have to upgrade in other repositories. So you have to learn how to manage that. The another way you can do is to keep all 5 applications and all libraries in the same repository. We call that monorepo. If you're looking for help, just go to nx.dev and you will probably find everything that you need, no matter if it's Angular, React, or any other kind of framework. What's more, you can extend NX to support some kind of framework that is not supported by default. And everything you need to know how to do this is in documentation. We are going to explore the default and recommended folder layout in NX. Let's jump straight into example application. If we list all files in this directory, you will notice apps directory. So ls-l. And as you can see, we have apps. If you check what is inside apps, so ls-l apps, you will find that we have 2 apps. We have our example application, which is our Angular application, and we have example E2E, end-to-end tests for our example application. This apps directory is not standard for Angular CLI applications. It's a part of recommended NX folder structure. So let's jump to the slides and check how this layout looks like. So the easiest part of this structure is apps directory. All your apps will live in that directory. So no matter if you have a front-end application, back-end application, end-to-end application, it will be inside apps directory. It's a very simple concept and it's straightforward to understand. The next part of that structure is libs directory. We haven't done libs because we don't have any library, but all your libraries, so the smaller parts of applications, will live inside this libs directory. So for example, if you have a login form package that contains login form module, it will be in libs/login form, and pretty the same with buttons. So all these libs are reusable and apps depend on the libs. What's more, some libraries will depend on other libraries. Libraries can be published, so if you consider library as npm package that you can publish to npm, as long as it is a library, it will be in libs directory. The main reason why you want to have libraries is that it's easier to develop and maintain application. Problems you need to solve will be naturally separated as well, so it's easier to focus on what you want to do at the moment. The last directory is called tools. If you work as a programmer already, you probably know that all companies have its own tools. Sometimes we create a small script to do some work for us, sometimes it's more complicated, but we have some tools that are internal. And NX provides you a place for that code. So every time when you need to do something custom, that it's not a part of application, that it's not a library, you can place that code in the tools. As you can see, NX is trying to show you where you should place the code to have everything in right order. Of course, you don't need to use this layout. It is recommended, but if you want to have your own code organization that suits you, you can do this with NX without any problem. The last thing we are going to check are configuration files generated by NX. So let's go back to our console view and I'm going to list all the files. So ls-la. As you can see, we have a bunch of them. So let's start with the most obvious one, package.json. You probably know what package.json file is, but if you're not familiar, it's the main project file in Node.js applications. The next interesting file is tsconfig.base.json. It's the TypeScript root configuration file, and what is important, all other TypeScript configuration files will expand this one. nx.json or workspace.json are configuration files for NX monorepo. It will be modified automatically by NX if needed. Editor config file is a configuration for editor config plugin in your IDE. Similar situation for prettier rc and ESLint rc.json. These files are for prettier and ESLint. We have additional jestconfig.ts and jestpreset.js files for Jest test runner. And what is important about these files, these are root files. All other configuration files will extend these files. So for example, if we check what is inside apps example, and we're going to list again all the files, so ls minus la apps example, you will find that inside our Angular application we have separate set of configuration files. And all these files extend the root ones. So you have one place to configure all your favorite ESLint rules and so on.